Dr. Sarah Chen stepped off the transport shuttle onto the research station Prometheus 7, her boots clicking against the metal floor. The station orbited a distant moon where humanity's first contact with truly alien life had been made just 3 months ago. What they found there defied every expectation. The briefing room buzzed with nervous energy as Sarah joined the other xenobiologists. Commander Harris stood at the front, his face grim behind the holographic display showing footage from the moon's surface. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to see has been classified until now," Harris began. 3 weeks ago, our ground team encountered what we've designated as Subject X1. The creature is unprecedented. The hologram shifted, showing a massive beast that made everyone in the room take a sharp breath. It stood 12 feet tall on 6 powerful legs, each ending in razor-sharp claws that could slice through titanium. Its body was covered in midnight black scales that seemed to absorb light itself. 2 rows of crystalline spines ran along its back, pulsing with an eerie purple glow. But it was the head that truly struck fear into hearts, elongated like a wolf's but 3 times larger, filled with teeth as long as human forearms. 6 eyes arranged in pairs glowed like burning coals, and tendrils of dark energy seemed to drift from its nostrils. "My God," whispered Dr. Martinez, the team's senior researcher. "It's like something from our worst nightmares." "The locals call it the Shadow Devourer," Harris continued. "According to their legends, it's been terrorizing their settlements for generations. It can phase through solid matter, appears to feed on fear itself, and has never been successfully killed or captured. Until now." Sarah leaned forward, intrigued despite the terrifying appearance of the creature. "What changed? How did we manage to contain it?" Harris's expression grew even more serious. "That's why you're here, Dr. Chen. The creature encountered one of our field researchers, Private Johnson. Instead of killing him, well, you'll see." The hologram switched to security footage from Johnson's helmet camera. The scene showed him alone in a cavern taking mineral samples, when shadows began to move unnaturally around him. The temperature readings on his suit dropped dramatically as the massive creature materialized from the darkness itself. Johnson turned around and came face to face with the beast. His breathing became rapid, visible on the audio feed. The creature towered over him, its 6 eyes burning with malevolent intelligence. Dark energy swirled around its massive form as it opened its mouth, revealing those sword-length teeth. Then something unexpected happened. Johnson tilted his head slightly, studying the creature's face. "Oh my goodness." His voice came through the speakers, filled with wonder rather than terror. "You're absolutely adorable." The entire briefing room fell silent. On the screen, the massive nightmare beast seemed equally stunned. Its 6 eyes blinked in sequence, the dark energy around it flickering like a disrupted signal. Johnson stepped closer, completely ignoring the fact that he was within striking distance of claws that could cut him in half. "Look at those eyes. They're like little galaxies. And those spines, they're beautiful like amethyst crystals. You're not scary at all, are you? You're just misunderstood." The creature made a sound that was somewhere between a growl and a whimper. Its massive head tilted to one side, mimicking Johnson's earlier gesture. "It's probably lonely," Johnson continued, reaching slowly toward the beast. "I bet nobody's ever tried to be friends with you before. They just run away screaming, don't they?" The Shadow Devourer's 6 eyes followed Johnson's hand as it approached. When his palm finally touched the side of the creature's massive snout, something extraordinary happened. The dark energy around the beast shifted from threatening purple to a warm golden glow. The creature's eyes half closed, and it made a rumbling sound that could only be described as a purr. "That's it," Johnson said softly. "You're just a big softy, aren't you?" Harris paused the footage, and the room remained in stunned silence for several long moments. "This interaction lasted for 3 hours," Harris finally said. "The creature showed no aggression toward Johnson. In fact, when our extraction team arrived, it initially became hostile again until Johnson explained they were his friends. Since then, the creature has refused to leave Johnson's side." Dr. Sarah Chen felt her scientific mind racing. This changed everything they thought they knew about the species. "Where is the creature now?" she asked. "That's the problem," Harris replied. "Johnson was injured during a routine survey mission yesterday. Nothing serious, just a broken leg. He's in the medical bay. But the creature..." Harris rubbed his temples. "The creature won't eat. It won't sleep. It just sits outside the medical bay making these heartbreaking sounds. Our xenopsychologist thinks it's grieving." Sarah stood up, her decision made. I need to see them both, immediately. As they walked through the station's corridors toward the medical bay, Sarah could hear it, a low, mournful sound that seemed to echo through the very walls. It was the sound of a creature in emotional pain, calling for someone who couldn't answer. The sight that greeted them in the medical bay corridor was unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. The massive shadow devourer lay curled up against the sealed door, its crystalline spines dim and flickering weakly. Its 6 eyes were fixed on the door, and every few minutes it would make that heartbreaking sound. Through the observation window, Sarah could see Johnson in his hospital bed, clearly distressed. He was arguing with the medical staff, trying to get up despite his injured leg. "This is unprecedented," Sarah murmured, watching the creature's behavior. "It's displaying clear signs of emotional attachment and separation anxiety. This suggests a level of emotional intelligence we've never encountered in a non-humanoid species." Harris nodded grimly. "The medical staff won't let Johnson out until his leg heals properly. But the creature hasn't moved from that spot in 18 hours. We're not sure how much longer it can survive without food or rest." Sarah made a decision that would change everything. "Open the medical bay door. Dr. Chen, that creature is still dangerous." "No," Sarah interrupted, watching the beast's gentle interaction with the door, pressing its massive snout against it as if trying to detect Johnson's scent. "It's not dangerous. It's loyal. There's a difference." As the medical bay door slid open, the transformation in the creature was immediate and remarkable. Its spines blazed with golden light as it carefully squeezed its massive form through the doorway, moving with surprising grace to avoid damaging any equipment. Johnson's face lit up as his unusual friend approached his bedside. The creature lowered its enormous head, and Johnson reached out to stroke the scales along its snout. "I missed you too, buddy," Johnson whispered. Sarah watched in amazement as the fearsome nightmare beast carefully positioned itself beside the bed, its massive form curled protectively around Johnson. Within minutes, both human and creature were fast asleep. Standing there, observing this impossible friendship, Sarah realized they weren't just dealing with a first contact situation anymore. They were witnessing the birth of something entirely new, a bond between species that would challenge everything humanity thought they knew about intelligence, emotion, and the nature of friendship itself. Word spread through the station like wildfire. Within hours, every crew member had found an excuse to walk past the medical bay, just to catch a glimpse of the impossible sight. A legendary nightmare beast sleeping peacefully beside a human. Dr. Sarah Chen had set up her temporary research station right outside the medical bay, monitoring both Johnson and his extraordinary companion around the clock. The data she was collecting challenged every assumption about alien, psychology, and intelligence. The creature's brain activity shows patterns remarkably similar to higher mammals during REM sleep, she explained to Commander Harris as they reviewed her findings. "But look at these readings. Its neural patterns are actually synchronizing with Johnson's sleep cycles." Harris frowned at the data streams flowing across Sarah's tablet. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means they're not just sleeping near each other, they're sleeping together in perfect harmony. Their brain waves are matching. I've never seen anything like it between 2 different species, let alone species from different worlds." The creature stirred slightly in its sleep, and Johnson's hand automatically moved to rest on its snout. Even unconscious, they were aware of each other's presence. "There's more," Sarah continued, pulling up another set of readings. "The creature's body temperature regulation, heart rate, and even its bioluminescent patterns are all responding to Johnson's condition. When his pain medication wore off and his discomfort increased, the creature's spines began glowing brighter, almost like it was trying to comfort him." A soft chime from the medical bay's intercom interrupted their conversation. Dr. Reeves, the station's chief medical officer, appeared on the screen looking bewildered. "Commander, you need to see this. Johnson's recovery rate has increased dramatically since the creature arrived. His bone healing is progressing 3 times faster than normal. His stress hormones are at the lowest levels I've ever recorded, and his immune system is functioning at peak efficiency." Harris and Sarah exchanged glances. "Are you saying the creature is somehow helping him heal?" "I can't explain it medically," Dr. Reeves admitted. "But the evidence is clear. Whatever this bond is between them, it's having a positive physiological effect on Johnson." Sarah's tablet chimed with an incoming message from the xenolinguistics department. The team had been analyzing the sounds the creature made, trying to determine if they constituted language. "Dr. Chen," the message read, "we need to show you something. The creature's vocalizations aren't random. We've identified at least 47 distinct sound patterns, and they correlate with specific situations and emotional states. But here's the interesting part. Some of the sounds are clear attempts to mimic human speech patterns." Sarah felt her excitement growing. She had suspected the creature was more intelligent than anyone realized, but if it was actually trying to communicate in human language... "Commander, I need to request something unusual," she said. "I want permission to enter the medical bay and interact with the creature directly." Harris looked skeptical. "Dr. Chen, even if it's bonded to Johnson, we don't know how it might react to other humans." "That's exactly what I need to find out. If this creature is as intelligent as I suspect, it might be capable of forming multiple relationships. And if we're going to coexist with its species, we need to understand how that process works." After much discussion and safety preparations, Sarah found herself standing at the threshold of the medical bay. Johnson was awake, gently stroking the creature's massive head while speaking to it in soft tones. "Hey there, beautiful," he was saying. "These are my friends. They want to meet you." The creature's 6 eyes opened and immediately focused on Sarah. She felt a chill of primal fear as that alien intelligence studied her, but she forced herself to remain calm and project confidence. "Hello," she said softly, using the same gentle tone Johnson employed. "I'm Sarah. I've been watching you take such good care of Johnson. You're a very good friend." The creature tilted its massive head, and Sarah heard it make a sound that was definitely an attempt at human speech. It came out as a deep rumbling approximation, but the pattern was unmistakably trying to copy her greeting. Did it just try to say hello?" Sarah asked in amazement. Johnson grinned. "It's been doing that more and more. I think it's learning our language. Show her the thing you do with the lights." At Johnson's encouragement, the creature focused on Sarah and slowly changed the color of its spines from their usual purple to a warm golden glow that matched the feeling of a sunset. Then it shifted through other colors: blue like a clear sky, green like growing plants, red like flowers. "It's trying to communicate emotions through color," Sarah realized. "The golden light means contentment and friendship. It's showing me that it wants to be friends." Encouraged by this display, Sarah slowly approached the creature. Its eyes tracked her movement but showed no signs of aggression. When she was close enough, she carefully extended her hand toward its snout. Just as Johnson had done in the original footage, the creature sniffed delicately at her palm, then gently pressed its massive head against her hand. The contact sent a shock of warmth through Sarah's arm, and she realized the creature's skin was generating some kind of bioelectric field that felt surprisingly pleasant. "Incredible," she whispered. "It's not just intelligent, it's empathic. It can sense emotions and respond to them." Over the next several hours, Sarah conducted careful tests with the creature's cooperation. She discovered that it could distinguish between different humans by scent and emotional signature. It showed clear preferences for calm, friendly individuals and became agitated around those who projected fear or hostility. Most remarkably, it began incorporating more human words into its vocalizations. By the end of the day, it could produce recognizable approximations of hello, friend, Sarah, and Johnson. "This changes everything we thought we knew about this species," Sarah reported to the command staff later that evening. "This creature isn't just a mindless predator as the local legend suggested. It's a highly intelligent being capable of complex emotions, language learning, and interspecies bonding." Commander Harris was studying the day's data with growing amazement. But why did it bond with Johnson specifically? What made him different from all the other humans who encountered its species? Sarah had been thinking about that same question all day. "I have a theory. Johnson was the first human to see past its appearance and recognize its intelligence. Instead of reacting with fear, he showed genuine affection and respect. For a being that has been feared and hunted its entire life, that kind of acceptance would be profound. So you're saying it bonded with him because he was kind to it? More than that. I think Johnson saw what this creature truly was, not a monster, but a lonely, intelligent being that had been misunderstood for centuries. And when someone finally saw its true nature, it responded with the deepest loyalty imaginable." As if to prove her point, the creature's mournful call echoed through the station corridors. Even though Johnson was safe and healing, the creature seemed to worry whenever its human friend was out of sight for too long. "We need to start thinking about the implications of this," Sarah continued. "If one member of this species can form such a strong bond with a human, what does that mean for future contact with their civilization? Are we dealing with individuals, or could this bond extend to their entire species?" Harris nodded thoughtfully. "What do you recommend?" "We need to learn everything we can about this creature and its species. But more than that, we need to prepare for the possibility that we're not dealing with a first contact situation anymore. We might be dealing with the beginning of a true partnership." That night, as Sarah reviewed her notes and prepared for the next day's research, she could hear the creature's gentle purring through the walls. It had learned to sleep through the night, secure in the knowledge that Johnson was safe and healing. But Sarah suspected this was just the beginning of something much larger, a bond between species that could change the future of human expansion into the galaxy. Johnson's recovery progressed remarkably fast, but as his leg healed, a new problem emerged that no one had anticipated. The creature had learned the daily routines of the medical bay so well that it knew exactly when visiting hours ended. As the time approached each evening, it would become increasingly agitated, its spines flickering between colors as anxiety built up in its massive frame. Dr. Sarah Chen watched through the observation window as the creature pressed its snout against the glass, making soft whimpering sounds that tugged at her heart. Johnson was on the other side, equally distressed by their forced separation. "We can't keep doing this," Dr. Reeves said, reviewing the creature's stress readings. "Its cortisol levels spike every time we enforce the separation. At this rate, it's going to make itself sick." Commander Harris joined them at the observation window, where the creature was now tracing patterns on the glass with its claw, not scratching or trying to break through, but drawing gentle spirals that Sarah realized were attempts at communication. "The problem is accommodation," Harris said. "This station wasn't designed for 12-foot-tall alien companions. We can't just let it roam freely through the corridors." Sarah had been thinking about this problem all week. "What if we don't have to? I've been studying its behavior patterns, and I think I have a solution." She pulled out her tablet, showing thermal imaging of the creature's movements over the past few days. "Look at this. The creature has been mapping the entire station through scent and sound. It knows every corridor, every room, every crew member's location at any given time. It's not exploring randomly, it's learning our social structure." "What do you mean?" Harris asked. "It's figured out who's important to Johnson. Look at these movement patterns." Sarah highlighted specific paths on the thermal image. "Every day it follows the same route. Johnson's location, then past my research station, then near Dr. Reeves' office, then to the communications array where Johnson talks to his family. It's mapping Johnson's social connections." Dr. Reeves looked puzzled. "Why would it do that?" "Because in its species, protecting someone means protecting their entire social network. It's not just bonded to Johnson. It's trying to understand and protect everyone who matters to Johnson. That's why it's been so calm around the medical staff and research team. We're part of Johnson's pack now." Harris was beginning to understand. "You're saying it wants to be part of our community, not just Johnson's companion." "Exactly. And I think I know how to make that work." Sarah's plan was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to modify the station's physical structure, they would create a schedule that allowed the creature to fulfill its protective instincts while maintaining station operations. The next morning, Sarah entered the medical bay with a tablet displaying a visual schedule she had created specifically for the creature, using simple icons and color patterns she had observed it responding to. She showed it a daily routine that included time with Johnson, exploration periods in designated areas, and interaction time with other crew members. The creature studied the tablet intensely, its 6 eyes focusing on different elements of the schedule. Then it did something that amazed everyone present. It pointed with one careful claw to the icon representing Johnson, then to the icon representing itself, then traced the timeline showing they would be together for specific periods each day. "It understands," Sarah breathed. "It's reading the schedule." Johnson reached over to stroke the creature's head. "You're such a smart one, aren't you? You know we're not trying to keep you away. We're just organizing our time better." The creature made a complex sound that Sarah's universal translator registered as multiple overlapping frequencies. After a moment, it became clear that the creature was trying to vocalize multiple concepts simultaneously. Agreement, gratitude and affection all expressed in a single, elaborate sound. The first day of the new schedule exceeded everyone's expectations. During its designated exploration time, the creature moved through the approved sections of the station with remarkable consideration. It had learned to lower its massive frame to avoid scraping the ceilings, to move slowly near fragile equipment, and to pause whenever crew members needed to pass by. Most surprisingly, it began seeking out interactions with other humans. Crew members who had initially been terrified of the legendary nightmare beast found themselves charmed by its gentle curiosity and obvious intelligence. Engineering. Chief Martinez was the first to experience this when he found the creature watching him work on a power coupling. Instead of feeling threatened, he found himself explaining his work to the attentive alien. "These conduits carry energy throughout the station," he found himself saying, holding up a fiber optic cable. The creature examined it carefully, then made a questioning sound. "You want to know how it works?" Martinez asked, surprised by his own willingness to engage. There was something about the creature's focused attention that made him want to share his knowledge. The creature's spines glowed softly with what Sarah had identified as its learning pattern, a gentle blue-green that indicated focused attention and processing of new information. Martinez spent 20 minutes explaining basic energy distribution to an alien being, and by the end of their interaction, he was convinced the creature understood more about engineering principles than some of his human assistants. Similar scenes played out throughout the station. Dr. Kim from hydroponics found the creature fascinated by plant growth patterns. Communications Officer Torres discovered it could distinguish between different types of signal frequencies by the subtle vibrations they created. Even the cook, Rodriguez, found himself with an enormous sous chef who could crack eggs with supernatural delicacy, using claws designed for tearing through titanium. But it was during a routine maintenance drill that the creature's true value to the station became apparent. Sarah was in her lab analyzing tissue samples when the emergency klaxons began blaring. A coolant leak in Section 7 had created a toxic gas cloud, and 2 crew members were trapped in the affected area. The automated safety systems had sealed the section, but the gas was too dangerous for human rescue teams. Before anyone could react, the creature was moving. It had been in the recreation area with Johnson when the alarm sounded, but somehow it immediately understood the nature of the emergency. Johnson later said its spines had changed to a pattern he'd never seen before, rapid pulses of white and red that seemed to indicate urgent action. The creature positioned itself at the sealed entrance to Section 7 and did something no one expected. It phased through the solid metal door. "My God," Commander Harris said, watching the security feeds. "I forgot it could do that." On the thermal imaging, they could see the creature moving through the toxic cloud completely unaffected. Its unique physiology made it immune to the chemical hazards that would kill a human in minutes. Within moments, it had located the 2 trapped crew members, Ensign Park and Lieutenant Collins. What happened next would become station legend. The creature carefully gathered both humans against its massive chest, using its own body to shield them from the toxic gas, then phased all 3 of them back through the sealed door to safety. Park and Collins were unconscious from gas exposure but alive. Medical teams rushed them to treatment while the creature stood by, its spines flickering with obvious concern until Dr. Reeves confirmed both humans would recover fully. "It saved their lives," Harris said, his voice filled with awe. Without hesitation, it risked itself to save crew members it had known for less than a week. Sarah nodded, but she wasn't surprised. "It's protecting the pack. In its mind, every human on this station is part of Johnson's social network, which makes us its responsibility." Johnson approached the creature, which was still agitated from the emergency. "Thank you," he said simply, placing both hands on either side of the massive head. "You saved our friends." The creature's response was immediate and profound. Its spines blazed with golden light, and it made a sound that the universal translator couldn't parse but that everyone present understood perfectly. It was the sound of love, loyalty, and belonging. That evening, as the station settled into its night cycle, Sarah found herself thinking about the implications of what they had witnessed. This creature hadn't just bonded with one human, it had adopted an entire community. It had become not just Johnson's companion, but the station's guardian. And if one member of this species could integrate so completely with human society, What might be possible if they could establish contact with more of its kind? The answer to that question would come sooner than anyone expected. 3 weeks after the coolant leak incident, long-range sensors detected something that changed everything. Commander Harris stood in the command center, staring at the display with a mixture of excitement and dread. "How many?" he asked the sensor operator. 17 distinct signatures, sir, all matching the bio-pattern of our resident creature. They're approaching the moon from deep space. Dr. Sarah Chen felt her heart race as she studied the sensor data. They're coming here. The question is why? The creature, whom Johnson had started calling Nyx after the ancient goddess of night, had been unusually restless all morning. Its spines had been cycling through colors Sarah had never seen before, and it had been making complex vocalizations that the translation system couldn't interpret. Could it be calling them? Harris asked. Some kind of long-range communication? Sarah reviewed her behavioral data from the past few days. I don't think so. Look at its stress patterns. Nyx seems as surprised by their approach as we are. But there's something else. She highlighted specific readings on her tablet. These biorhythmic spikes correspond exactly with when the first ship appeared on long-range sensors, even before we detected them. You're saying it could sense them before our instruments could? Its species might have some form of quantum entanglement communication. They could be aware of each other across vast distances. Sarah paused, considering the implications, which means they probably know about Nyx's bond with humans. Johnson arrived in the command center with Nyx following behind him, the massive creature moving carefully through corridors that were just barely large enough to accommodate its frame. The moment Nyx entered the room, every sensor reading spiked dramatically. "Easy there, buddy," Johnson said soothingly, noticing Nyx's agitation. "What's got you so worked up?" Nyx moved to the main display showing the approaching ships and pressed its snout against the screen. It made a series of complex sounds that seemed to be directed at the display itself, as if trying to communicate with the distant vessels. It's trying to talk to them, Sarah realized. But something's wrong. Look at its body language. Nyx's posture had shifted from its usual relaxed state to something more defensive. Its spines were now pulsing with alternating patterns of blue and red. Colors Sarah had learned indicated conflict between loyalty and duty. "Harris to all stations," the commander announced over the ship's communication system. "We have incoming vessels of unknown intent. All personnel to alert status. This is not a drill." The next several hours were tense as the 17 ships entered orbit around the moon. Each vessel was organic in design, looking more grown than built, with the same crystalline structures that adorned Nyx's spines integrated into their hulls. First contact protocols had been prepared for months, but no one had expected the initial communication to come from Nyx itself. As the alien fleet settled into orbit, Nyx began a complex sequence of sounds and light patterns that lasted for nearly an hour. When it finished, Nyx turned to Johnson and did something unprecedented. It spoke in clear, understandable human language. "Pack leaders want Nyx return," it said, its deep voice struggling with human vocal patterns but unmistakably clear. "Say bond with humans is forbidden. Nyx is corrupted." The command center fell silent. Sarah felt her scientific mind racing while her heart sank. After weeks of building trust and friendship, they might be about to lose their extraordinary companion. Johnson knelt beside Nyx's massive head, his expression fierce with protective anger. "They want to take you away from us?" Nyx's response was immediate and firm. "Nyx, not go. This is Pack now. Humans or family." "Harris to communications," the commander said quickly. "Open a channel to the lead ship. We need to talk to whoever's in charge." The response came faster than expected. The main display shifted to show the bridge of the lead vessel, where 3 creatures identical to Nyx stood in formation. But unlike their gentle companion, these beings radiated an authority and coldness that made everyone in the command center take an involuntary step backward. The center creature, distinguished by spines that seemed to be made of pure starlight, spoke first. Its voice was transmitted directly into their minds rather than through sound, creating an unsettling sense of mental intrusion. "I'm Elder Voidwalker of the Shadow Clan. We have come for the one you call Nyx. It has been compromised by exposure to your species and must return for purification." Commander Harris stepped forward, drawing on every ounce of diplomatic training he possessed. "Elder Voidwalker, I am Commander Harris of the Human Research Station Prometheus 7. The being you call compromised has saved human lives and formed bonds of friendship with our crew. We ask that you respect its choice to remain with us." The elder's 6 eyes fixed on Harris with an intensity that made him feel as though his soul was being examined. Choice? The young one knows nothing of choice. It has been influenced by human emotional contamination. Your species' tendency toward pack bonding has infected its judgment. Sarah stepped forward, her scientific instincts overriding her fear. "With respect, Elder Voidwalker, what you call contamination we call growth. Nyx has demonstrated intelligence, empathy, and loyalty, far beyond what we initially expected. Perhaps what you're seeing isn't corruption, but evolution." The elder's attention shifted to Sarah, and she felt that mental probe examining her thoughts. To her surprise, she sensed curiosity behind the cold authority. "You believe our kind can be improved by contact with yours?" "I believe both our species can be improved by contact with each other," Sarah replied boldly. "Nyx has learned from us, but we've learned even more from it. Together, we've become something neither species could achieve alone." Behind them, Nyx moved closer to Johnson, its massive form positioned protectively between the humans and the display showing its own kind. "Nyx choose humans," it said firmly. "Pack bond sacred. Elders taught this." The elder's starlight spines flickered with what might have been surprise. "You quote our own laws to us, young one?" "Pack bond is everything," Nyx replied. "Humans accepted Nyx when no others would, showed kindness when all others showed fear. Pack bond more sacred than clan tradition." The other elders moved closer to Voidwalker, and Sarah could see rapid communication happening between them, their spines pulsing in synchronized patterns that suggested some form of light-based language. Finally, Elder Voidwalker spoke again. "The young one presents a dilemma. Our laws regarding pack bonds are indeed sacred, but never have they been applied to alien species. We require proof that these bonds are genuine and beneficial to both parties." "What kind of proof?" Harris asked. "We will observe. 3 of our kind will remain on your station for 1 lunar cycle. They will evaluate whether this partnership serves the greater good of both species. If the bonds prove false or harmful, all Shadow Clan members will be removed from human contact permanently." Sarah felt her heart race. This was humanity's chance to prove that interspecies cooperation was possible, but it was also a test that could determine the future of human-alien relations. "We accept your terms," Commander Harris said formally. "Very well. We will also require that the young one demonstrate its continued connection to our kind. It must participate in clan rituals and prove it has not forgotten its true nature." Nyx's spines flickered with uncertainty. It had found a family among humans, but now it would have to prove it could maintain connections to both species simultaneously. As the elder's image faded from the screen, Sarah looked at Nyx and saw something remarkable in its 6 eyes. Not fear or confusion, but determination. It had found something precious in its bond with humans, and it was willing to fight for the right to keep both its old identity and its new family. The next month would determine whether the universe was large enough for such unprecedented friendship to flourish. The 3 Shadow Clan observers arrived on the station with a presence that immediately changed the atmosphere. Unlike Nyx, these beings, introduced as Scholar Deep Current, Guardian Storm Shadow, and Evaluator Mind Pierce, maintained the aloof dignity that humans had expected from their first contact with aliens. Dr. Sarah. Shen watched nervously as the trio moved through the station's corridors like living shadows, their midnight black forms absorbing light and radiating an otherworldly authority that made crew members instinctively step aside. Scholar Deep Current, distinguished by spines that shifted through deep blues and purples, had positioned itself in the station's main laboratory. Its 6 eyes tracked every human movement with scientific precision, occasionally making notes in patterns of light that danced along its crystalline protrusions. Guardian Storm Shadow, whose spines crackled with what looked like contained lightning, had claimed a position near the security station. It studied human defense protocols and emergency procedures with the focused attention of a military strategist. Most unsettling was Evaluator Mind Pierce, whose silver spines seemed to read thoughts themselves. It shadowed the daily interactions between Nyx and the human crew, its presence making everyone uncomfortably self-aware. "This isn't going well," Commander Harris confided to Sarah during their 3rd day of observation. "The crew is walking on eggshells. They're too nervous to act naturally around Nyx with those 3 watching their every move." Sarah had noticed the same thing. The easy friendship that had developed between Nix and the station's personnel was becoming stilted and formal under the scrutiny of the observers. Johnson was particularly affected, second-guessing every interaction with his alien companion. We need to show them who we really are, Sarah decided. Not who we think they want us to be, but who we actually are when we're relaxed and comfortable. The opportunity came sooner than expected. During the evening shift, a routine maintenance check in the hydroponics bay went wrong when Dr. Kim accidentally triggered a chemical spill that threatened the station's entire food supply. Emergency protocols kicked in immediately, but the contamination was spreading too quickly for standard procedures. The affected area needed to be evacuated and sealed, which meant losing months of carefully cultivated crops that fed the entire station. As the crew scrambled to respond, Nix appeared in the hydroponics bay without being summoned. It took one look at the spreading contamination and the distressed humans, then began moving with purpose. "Nix, get out of there," Johnson called from the safe zone. "The chemicals are toxic." But Nix ignored the warning. Instead, it began using its ability to phase through matter to contain the spill in ways no human technology could match. It phased parts of its body through contaminated surfaces, somehow neutralizing the chemicals on contact. Dr. Kim watched in amazement as Nix methodically worked through the affected area, its natural immunity to toxins allowing it to go where no human could survive. Within 20 minutes, the contamination was completely neutralized. "Incredible," Kim breathed. "It saved our entire food supply." The three observers had arrived during the emergency, and Sarah watched their reactions carefully. Scholar Deep Current's spines were pulsing with rapid calculations, clearly analyzing Nix's problem-solving approach. Guardian Storm Shadow showed what might have been approval in the steady glow of its lightning-like protrusions. But it was Evaluator Mind Pierce's reaction that surprised everyone. For the first time since arriving, the silver-spined observer approached a human directly. It moved toward Dr. Kim, who stood frozen with uncertainty. "You show gratitude." Mind Pierce's mental voice was gentler than expected. "This emotion, it is genuine?" Kim nodded, finding his voice. Nix didn't hesitate. It put itself at risk to save something that only matters to humans. Our food supply means nothing to its species, but it matters to us, so it mattered to Nix. Mind Pierce's spines shifted to a warmer silver tone. "Interesting. The bonded one acts for the benefit of the pack, even when the pack's needs differ from its own biological requirements." Scholar Deep Current joined the conversation, its mental voice carrying notes of scientific fascination. "We have observed this pattern repeatedly. The bonded one has learned to value human priorities, efficiency, innovation, emotional well-being, even though these concepts did not exist in its original programming." "Programming?" Sarah interjected. "You make it sound like Nix was created rather than born." "All Shadow Clan are born with genetic memories," Guardian Storm Shadow explained, speaking for the first time since arriving. "We inherit the experiences and knowledge of our ancestors, but this one," it gestured toward Nix, "has begun creating new patterns that exist nowhere in our racial memory." Sarah felt her excitement growing. "You mean Nix is evolving? Creating new types of experiences that your species has never had before?" "Precisely," Scholar Deep Current confirmed. "And these new patterns appear to be beneficial. The bonded one has developed capabilities we did not know our species possessed. Enhanced empathy, creative problem-solving, and most remarkably, the ability to find joy in the success of other beings." Evaluator Mind Pierce moved closer to Nix, who had returned to Johnson's side after completing the cleanup. "Show us this joy," it commanded. Johnson looked confused for a moment, then understood. He pulled out a tablet showing pictures of his family back on Earth, his wife and 2 young children. "This is my family, Nix. Remember I told you about them?" Nix's spines immediately blazed with golden light, and its 6 eyes focused on the images with obvious affection. It made soft sounds of pleasure as Johnson scrolled through pictures of his children playing, learning, growing. "They are not Nix's offspring," Mind Pierce observed. "They provide no genetic or survival benefit to its lineage. Yet its emotional response is as strong as if they were its own young. That's because they are its young in a way," Johnson explained. "When you care about someone, you care about everything that matters to them. Nix has never met my family, but they're important to me, so they're important to Nix." The 3 observers exchanged rapid light pattern communications that lasted several minutes. When they finished, Scholar Deepcurrent addressed the assembled humans. We have reached a preliminary conclusion. What you call friendship we understand as expanded pack bonding. The bonded one has not been corrupted. It has pioneered a new form of social evolution that allows for interspecies cooperation. Guardian Storm Shadow's lightning-like spines flickered with what Sarah was learning to recognize as approval. Such evolution could benefit both species greatly. Shadow Clan could learn new forms of cooperation, while humans could gain access to capabilities your species lacks. Evaluator Mind Pierce approached Commander Harris directly. We wish to extend the observation period. There are other members of our clan who should witness these developments. May we bring additional observers? Harris felt a surge of hope. How many additional observers? The entire colony ship that brought us here contains approximately 300 Shadow Clan members. With your permission, we would like to establish a permanent cultural exchange program. Sarah felt her heart racing with excitement. This was beyond their wildest hopes for first contact. Not just peaceful coexistence, but true partnership between species. What would such a program involve? Harris asked. Scholar Deepcurrent's spines shifted to patterns Sarah was beginning to recognize as enthusiasm. Humans and Shadow Clan working together, learning from each other, developing new capabilities that neither species could achieve alone. But there is one requirement, which is, the bonded one must agree to teach other Shadow Clan members how to form these beneficial pack bonds with humans. It would become, essentially, an ambassador between species. All eyes turned to Nix, who had been listening to the exchange with obvious intelligence. It looked at Johnson, then at the crew members who had become its extended family, then at the 3 observers who represented its own species. Nix teach, it said firmly. Show others that humans and Shadow Clan better together than apart. Johnson placed his hand on Nix's massive snout, pride evident in his expression. I always knew you were special, buddy. Now you're going to change the galaxy. As the 3 observers departed to make their report to the colony ship, Sarah realized they had just witnessed the beginning of something unprecedented in galactic history. The first true alliance between species based not on politics or necessity, but on genuine affection and mutual respect. The nightmare beast that had once terrorized local settlements was about to become the foundation of interstellar friendship. The Shadow Clan colony ship Eternal Wanderer docked with Prometheus 7 6 days later, creating a sight that would be remembered in history books for generations to come. The massive organic vessel, resembling a crystalline flower in full bloom, extended delicate connection tendrils that interfaced perfectly with the station's human technology. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the main docking bay, watching in amazement as Shadow Clan members began flowing into the station. Each being was unique in its spine patterns and coloration, but all shared the same elegant, otherworldly presence that had initially made them seem so frightening. What surprised her most was their obvious nervousness. These powerful beings, capable of phasing through matter and immune to most environmental hazards, were approaching their first extended contact with humans with the same careful uncertainty that humans had shown toward them. Nix had positioned itself at the center of the docking bay, serving as a living bridge between the 2 species. Its spines blazed with welcoming golden light as it greeted each new arrival with complex vocalizations and light patterns that Sarah's instruments recorded but couldn't yet translate. Status report, Commander Harris said, joining Sarah at the observation platform. Remarkable, Sarah replied, studying her readings. Each Shadow Clan member that interacts with Nix shows immediate physiological changes. Their neural patterns are shifting toward more open, curious configurations. Nix isn't just introducing them. It's teaching them how to be receptive to human contact. The first formal introduction took place in the station's main conference room, which had been hastily modified to accommodate beings of various sizes. Elder Voidwalker entered with a delegation of clan leaders, their starlight spines casting ethereal patterns on the walls. Johnson sat beside Nix, his hand resting comfortably on its massive forearm. The casual intimacy of the gesture clearly fascinated the Shadow Clan observers, many of whom had never seen interspecies physical contact. We have come to understand what our advanced scouts discovered, Elder Voidwalker began, its mental voice carrying formal tones. The bonded one has achieved something unprecedented in our species' history. We wish to learn this capability. It's not really something you can teach in a traditional sense, Johnson replied. Friendship happens naturally when beings care about each other's well-being. A younger Shadow Clan member, whose spines displayed rapid cycling colors that Sarah interpreted as excitement, stepped forward. I am Seeker Swiftlight. I wish to understand this friendship. May I attempt to form a bond with a human? Johnson looked around the room, considering which crew member might be best suited for this historic first attempt. His eyes settled on Engineering Chief Martinez, who had shown remarkable adaptability during Nix's integration into station life. Chief Martinez, would you be willing to try? Martinez stepped forward, his usual confidence slightly shaken by the magnitude of the moment. I'm honored to try, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Nix moved between Martinez and Swiftlight, its spines shifting to a teaching pattern Sarah had observed before, gentle blues and greens that seemed to encourage learning and patience. Watch Nix, Johnson suggested. See how it approaches you when it wants to interact. Swiftlight studied Nix's movements carefully, then attempted to mimic the gentle approach their kind had learned. Its massive form lowered slightly, bringing its 6 eyes closer to Martinez's eye level, and it made soft, questioning sounds. Martinez, drawing on his experience with Nix, responded with calm acceptance. Hello there. I'm Martinez. I work on keeping the station running smoothly. The moment of contact came when Martinez extended his hand toward Swiftlight's snout, just as he had seen Johnson do countless times. Swiftlight's touch was tentative at first, then more confident as it sensed Martinez's genuine lack of fear. Fascinating, Swiftlight's mental voice carried notes of wonder. Your thoughts are so warm. There's no deception, no hidden threat assessment. You simply accept my presence. Why wouldn't I? Martinez replied. Nix has been nothing but helpful and friendly. I figure if you're anything like Nix, we'll get along fine. Swiftlight's spines began displaying patterns that matched Nix's golden contentment glow. Within minutes, the two were engaged in animated conversation about engineering principles, with Swiftlight demonstrating its species' intuitive understanding of energy flow patterns. The success of this first bonding attempt created a wave of enthusiasm among the Shadow Clan observers. Over the following days, more clan members requested opportunities to interact with humans, each pairing carefully monitored and guided by Nix. Not every attempt was immediately successful. Some Shadow Clan members struggled with human emotional expressions, finding them confusing or overwhelming. Some humans found it difficult to overcome their instinctive wariness of such powerful alien beings. But the failures taught valuable lessons about compatibility and patience, while the successes created bonds that amazed both species. Dr. Kim from Hydroponics formed an unexpected friendship with a Shadow Clan botanist named Rootsinger, whose ability to sense plant health through electromagnetic fields revolutionized the station's agricultural systems. Communications Officer Torres bonded with Echo Finder, a clan member whose natural ability to perceive and manipulate various energy frequencies enhanced the station's long-range communication capabilities far beyond human technology. Perhaps most remarkably, the station's cook, Rodriguez, found himself working alongside Taste Seeker, whose enhanced sensory abilities allowed them to create fusion cuisine that satisfied both human and Shadow Clan nutritional needs. But it was the unexpected friendship between the station's youngest crew member, 22-year-old Ensign Park, and an ancient Shadow Clan elder named Memory Keeper that truly demonstrated the potential of interspecies bonding. Memory Keeper carried the genetic memories of thousands of years of clan history, making it one of the most respected members of their society. When it requested a bonding attempt with the inexperienced human ensign, many questioned the wisdom of the pairing. I don't understand why you'd want to bond with me, Park said honestly during their first meeting. I'm just an ensign. I barely know anything about anything. Memory Keeper's ancient eyes studied the young human with gentle patience. Precisely why you interest me. You carry no preconceptions, no fixed beliefs about what is possible. Your mind is open to experiences my kind has never considered. Their friendship developed around shared wonder at the universe's possibilities. Park's enthusiasm for learning complemented Memory Keeper's vast knowledge, creating exchanges that enriched both beings. The young human's questions often led Memory Keeper to examine its own assumptions and beliefs in ways it had never considered. You have taught me something valuable. Memory Keeper told Park during one of their evening conversations. Knowledge without curiosity becomes stagnant. Your eagerness to understand everything reminds me why learning itself is joy. Sarah documented each successful bonding with scientific precision, but also with growing personal amazement. What they were witnessing wasn't just first contact, it was the birth of a new form of consciousness that emerged when two completely different types of minds connected in friendship. The implications are staggering, she reported to Command at the end of the second week. These bonds aren't just social connections. They're creating hybrid forms of problem-solving and creativity that neither species could achieve alone. We're seeing the emergence of truly collaborative intelligence. Commander Harris reviewed her data with growing excitement. Are you saying these partnerships are making both species smarter? Smarter, more creative, more capable, and more resilient. The humans who've bonded with Shadow Clan members are showing enhanced intuition and pattern recognition. The Shadow Clan members are developing emotional intelligence and innovative thinking they didn't possess before. As the third week of the cultural exchange began, it became clear that something unprecedented was happening on Prometheus 7. Two species were not just learning to coexist. They were evolving together into something greater than either could be, alone. And at the center of it all was Nyx, the former nightmare beast serving as teacher guide, and living proof that the universe was vast enough for friendship to transcend every boundary of biology, culture, and understanding. 6 months after first contact, the research station Prometheus 7 had been transformed into something unprecedented in galactic history, the first truly integrated interspecies community. What had begun as a simple scientific outpost now served as the blueprint for a new kind of civilization. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck that had been expanded to accommodate both human and Shadow Clan gatherings. Below her, the main community area bustled with activity that would have seemed impossible just months before. Human children played games of light tag with young Shadow Clan members, their laughter mixing with the melodic harmonic sounds that the aliens used to express joy. Final report to Earth Command. Sarah spoke into her recording device. The cultural exchange program has exceeded all expectations. We're not just witnessing cooperation between species, we're documenting the birth of a hybrid civilization that combines the best qualities of both races. The success stories were everywhere she looked. Chief Martinez and Swiftlight had developed new engineering principles that improved both human technology and Shadow Clan biomechanical systems. Their joint innovations had increased station efficiency by 300% while reducing resource consumption by half. In the hydroponics lab, Dr. Kim and Rootsinger had created agricultural systems that could adapt to any planetary environment. Their hybrid growing methods combined human cultivation techniques with Shadow Clan biomanipulation abilities, promising to revolutionize food production across the galaxy. But it was the children who truly represented the future. Human families stationed on Prometheus 7 had been joined by their children, and the bonds forming between young humans and Shadow Clan juveniles were unlike anything. The adult generation had achieved 8-year-old. Lucy Martinez had formed an inseparable friendship with a young Shadow Clan named Starchild, whose spine still displayed the rapid, excited patterns of youth. The two had developed a form of communication that transcended language, a mixture of human words, Shadow Clan light patterns, and shared emotions that created understanding deeper than either species had known was possible. They're teaching each other to see the universe through completely different perspectives, Sarah observed. Watching the children work together on a project that seemed to involve both human technology and Shadow Clan bioenergy manipulation. The next generation won't just cooperate. They'll think as a hybrid species. The most remarkable development had been the evolution of Nyx itself. No longer just a bridge between species, it had become something entirely new, a being that embodied the best qualities of both races. Its intelligence had expanded beyond what either species had thought possible, combining human creativity with Shadow Clan wisdom to solve problems that had challenged both civilizations for centuries. Johnson found his friend in their favorite spot, the observation lounge where they had first learned to communicate. Nyx had grown larger over the months, its form adapting to its expanding role in the community. But its essential nature remained unchanged, the gentle giant who had first been seen as adorable rather than terrifying. The Earth delegation arrives tomorrow, Johnson said, settling into the specially designed chair beside Nix's resting area. Are you ready to meet the politicians and scientists who will decide our future? Nix's spine shifted through thoughtful patterns, blues and purples that Sarah had learned to associate with deep consideration. Nix ready, but humans from Earth different from humans here? Johnson smiled at the question that revealed how much Nix had grown to understand human nature. Some are. The people coming tomorrow have never lived alongside Shadow Clan. They might be afraid at first, just like we were. Then Nix, show them what we show you, it replied with quiet confidence. Fear goes away when see friendship. The next day brought a delegation of Earth's most senior officials, scientists, and military leaders. Admiral Chen, no relation to Sarah, led the group, her expression skeptical as she surveyed the integrated community that Prometheus 7 had become. Dr. Chen, the Admiral said formally, your reports have been extraordinary, but I need to see for myself whether this alliance poses any security risks to human space. Sarah understood the Admiral's caution. From Earth's perspective, humans had allied themselves with a species that possessed terrifying capabilities. The ability to phase through matter, immunity to most toxins, and strength that could tear apart starships. But those capabilities had been used only to protect and help. Admiral, if I may suggest, the best way to understand what we've achieved here is to experience it directly. Would you be willing to meet Nix? The formal introduction took place in the main conference room, with Johnson and Nix waiting calmly as the Earth delegation filed in. Admiral Chen's reaction was typical, a sharp intake of breath as she saw the massive creature that had once been called the Nightmare Beast. But Nix had learned much about human psychology over the months. Instead of approaching directly, it settled into a relaxed position and simply waited, allowing the humans to observe and adjust to its presence. Admiral Chen, Johnson said quietly, I'd like you to meet my friend Nix. Nix, this is Admiral Chen from Earth. She's here to learn about our community. Nix's response was perfectly calibrated to put the nervous Admiral at ease. Its spines displayed gentle, non-threatening colors, and it spoke in the careful, measured tones it had learned humans associated with intelligence and trustworthiness. Welcome to our home. Admiral Chen, we hope you will find friendship here, as we have found with your people. The Admiral's military training kept her expression neutral, but Sarah could see the surprise in her eyes. Whatever she had expected from a first contact scenario, it wasn't this articulate, considerate being who spoke of friendship and home. You refer to this as your home? The Admiral asked. Home is where Pack lives, Nix replied simply. Johnson is Pack. All humans here are Pack. Shadow Clan here are Pack. So this is home for Nix. Over the following days, the Earth delegation witnessed demonstrations of the hybrid technologies, toured the integrated living spaces, and observed the daily interactions between species. But it was the unexpected events that truly convinced them. During their third day, an emergency arose when a solar flare damaged the station's primary communication array. Repair work required someone to work in the intense radiation field that would be lethal to humans even in protective suits. Without hesitation, 3 Shadow Clan members, including Swiftlight, volunteered for the dangerous task. Their natural immunity to radiation made them ideal for the job, but they had no obligation to risk themselves for human equipment. Admiral Chen watched through the observation ports as the Shadow Clan team worked with precise efficiency to restore communications. Why? She asked Johnson. Why would they risk themselves for our equipment? Because it's not just our equipment anymore, Johnson replied. It's the communication system that lets humans here talk to their families on Earth. Swiftlight has become friends with Martinez's family through those communications. To him, fixing that array means protecting his friend's happiness. The repair was completed in record time, and when the Shadow Clan team returned, they were greeted with cheers and gratitude from the human crew. Admiral Chen saw genuine affection and respect flowing between species, not the wary cooperation she had expected, but the easy camaraderie of beings who truly cared about each other. That evening, the Admiral requested a private meeting with Sarah and Commander Harris. I came here expecting to find humans who had been manipulated or coerced into an alliance with a dangerous alien species, she said bluntly. What I've found instead is a community that represents the best hope for humanity's future among the stars. Does that mean Earth will support the expansion of the program? Sarah asked hopefully. More than support it. We're going to fund the construction of 10 more stations like this one. The hybrid technologies you've developed here could solve resource problems throughout human space. But more importantly, you've proven that we don't have to face the galaxy alone. The celebration that night brought together every being on the station. Human music mixed with Shadow Clan harmonic resonance to create sounds that touched hearts across species lines. Children of both races played together under lights that shifted through every color of the spectrum. Nyx found itself surrounded by admirers from the Earth delegation, many of whom wanted to hear the story of how the legendary nightmare beast had become the foundation of interstellar friendship. "You're really not what we expected," Admiral Chen said, reaching out to touch Nyx's snout in the gesture that had become universal between the species. "Humans not what Shadow Clan expected either," Nyx replied with gentle amusement. "Expected cold, calculating species interested only in conquest. Found instead beings capable of love, friendship, protection of others. Both species learned truth. Appearances can deceive, but kindness never lies." As the celebration continued into the night, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. It had begun with one human seeing past fear to recognize the potential for friendship. It had grown through patience, understanding, and the willingness of both species to see each other as individuals rather than stereotypes.